I have a student model tenor saxophone, a YTS-23 from Yamaha, and I've learned to play on it very well. Um, and it's been years since I've really played it, but that's neither here nor there. My amateur shot all the hell. But you have to fight it at times because Yamaha's very good at making the same instrument over and over and over. That was kind of what they're very good at is they can reproduce the same instrument again and again and again because of the manufacturing techniques that they use. That every student model, like every YTS-23 is the same.
Right.
And they are a good, solid instrument to play versus if you'd gotten like a student model sax from like other companies, their student model saxes, like the very cut rate ones, would just not be as good overall because they're not consistent. You don't know what the differences are going to be between them. And the two things that you have to kind of fight on them is the hardest one is high G, which is just basically all three fingers down and your octave key down. And because of the way that the air routes its way through through it, if you blow too hard, you can squeak it. So you'd be like, like it'll just basically squeak up too hard. So you have to learn how to deliver air at a consistent speed, but not so much pressure that it will want to elephant squeal for you, essentially. And it's the only note that does that. So you can be playing the whole thing at a nice loud volume or whatever, and then all of a sudden you'll hit your G, and you'll go like that, and you'll be like, damn it, so you got to learn how to rein it in. There was a lot of practice to learn that. And yet, pick up a buddy of mine had a Selmer Super Action 80 series tenor sax, which was very expensive, worth more than my car, and he let me play it. And it just, you could run scales on that thing all day. It was beautiful. It sounded beautiful through the whole thing. There was never a problem playing it. It was always consistent, and you didn't have a worry about how much air or how little air you're putting through it. You're going to get the sound you want every time. And I'm like, right,
interesting.
This is the value of buying expensive instruments. But expensive instruments are expensive for a reason.
On the other hand, like you sort of want to be teaching kids to be controlling their
absolutely
air. Like presumably you wouldn't have a $10,000 saxophone if you didn't already know how to play it without that sort of.
It's fair, but what this is another thing I remember from the Bare Naked Ladies book I was reading is that Ed Robertson, when he was learning how to play guitar back in the day, is that he was playing on instruments that his parents owned, and then at some point they're like, well, he seems to like playing guitar, we'll buy him a guitar. And they bought him like a really nice Gibson, and not like, like top model or whatever, but they bought him like a nice Gibson Les Paul, I think it was that, or maybe it was an Epiphone Les Paul, but it was like they bought me a nice instrument because they saw that based on what I was doing playing on their guitars, I was only going to get so good. And I needed a better instrument to become a better musician.
Right.
And that's kind of the one thing that held me back with my saxophone is I'm like, I'm not willing to drop $3,000 or $4,000. I didn't have the money at any time to go do that. I'd have the money now if I wanted to go find myself a tenor saxophone. I could justify that, but I'm like, I don't play my tenor at all, so I don't do that.
I think that happens in a lot of different vocations when, same with like in auto racing, right? They always say you want to learn to drive a slow car fast.
Yes.
Right? And it's like, yes, you do. But if you want to win races, you want to drive a fast car fast. Yeah. So at some point you do need to graduate.
Right, yeah.
Oh, it's so cute.
So great.
Little beret.
That's adorable.
But yeah, I mean, obviously it makes sense for a kid who you don't know how excited they actually will be about playing the instrument to not give them the best thing.
Yeah, and just a little upgrade usually can make a big difference. I remember when I was doing concert band back in high school, I played trombone, and yeah, just going from the base student model Yamaha trombone and just getting a nice mouthpiece, like a expensive mouthpiece, makes a huge difference in how easy it made that thing to play.
I bought a Selmer C-Star mouthpiece on the advice of my sax teacher, but I didn't buy it until after I graduated high school, so I didn't see him again. But when I finally bought one and put it on my regular saxophone. I was like, oh, there's so much more air. There's so much more that's flowing through this. I'm having a hard time keeping up with how much air I need to blow through this thing.
Right.
It didn't solve the squeaky problem so much, but now all of a sudden it felt like everything was flowing more. I'm like, yeah, makes a big difference.
Yeah, totally.
Did you play just slide, or did you have a valve trombone?
No, I only played slide.
Okay.
Yeah. I never upgraded from there. I only really played trombone in high school. Piano and keyboards has always been my main instrument.
Nice.
But yeah, it's interesting now with keyboards because it used to be that you buy a really expensive, if you're doing synths for a band, you buy a really expensive synth. But it's gotten to the point, if I'm performing now, I just use MIDI controllers. And it's all done through, I run them through my iPad that's running like Ableton or something.
Right.
And
So
it's all software plugins that are giving you those
Right.
sounds now.
So all the actual the actual synth is or the physical thing is just like you like the feel of the keys. Basically.
Yeah, exactly. You just need to drop. It's like $500 on a decent MIDI controller with decent action. And
What do you use for a MIDI, like something that's like, you don't use like a full 88?
I do. So
okay.
For performing, I use 2 keyboards. So because for my band, I play all the bass parts as well.
Okay.
So I do the bass parts and the synth parts. So one keyboard is always just my top keyboard's just a super basic Yamaha that I've had for I don't know, like 15 years.
DX7.
I don't actually remember the model.
Okay, fair.
But it's got decent like synth bass sounds in it. So I use that, and then my bottom keyboard is a M Audio 88 key. Yeah, just pretty basic MIDI controller, but that just runs through an iPad Mini and out through a little Scarlett audio interface box, and it works great.
So between songs, you just kind of like go over and you go tick tick tick. This
I just tap it on my iPad. Yeah, I've just got it. I'll arrange it so that they're just in a list. So it's like just load the next sound.
Nice. Cool.
I mean, I saw. I was doing a performance thing over the summer, and we were singing with the full like Victoria Symphony Orchestra, but we were like at the back, and so you could see that like the as you see the percussion player, like the woman who was playing the with the mallets. She actually was playing like a digital, like it was like a
Representation from marimba or something, but
it was like a digital board, and then there was a laptop that she could change the sound that the thing made.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
You don't have to have a marimba and a xylophone and bells and all that.
the one thing I've wanted to get is as an electronic drum set, as a means of just I want to be able to like teach myself patterns.
Yeah.
And I'm like, which is dumb because it's like I shouldn't go out and get a $300 or $400 or $1,200 drum set just to be like I want to learn how to play drums, put the headphones on, drum along to whatever. It's like what I should be doing is getting myself a practice pad and 2 sticks, and I should be learning how to tap out rhythms on that, like doing paradiddles and all that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
Like learning those things and getting good at doing the rhythm, and then getting good at like separating hands from feet and all that kind of stuff. And if I could be doing that, then I could be really teaching myself the drums, and that would be a lot more fun. But it's been one of those things in the back of my mind, like I'd like to have that. But I also live in an apartment complex, and so
Yeah,
like, I can't get real drums. But
one floor down neighbors, they won't like you very much.
yeah. So
Drums are not a great instrument to pick up when you're in a tight, confined area.
my dad bought himself a because he's kind of gone through this thing of buying guitars and stuff, and so I've got my Ovation Celebrity, right, with a big bowl on the back because I want it to resonate. I want it to be big.
Right.
And I met somebody who had the super shallow, I think is what it was. It was a very thin bowl on the back, and it still has a great sound, but it's much brighter. It's not as bassy, and I wanted something that has kind of the low end in it. She really liked her shallow, and so I was talking with my dad at some point, and he liked my guitar, so he went ahead and he also bought an Ovation Celebrity with a big bowl on it, and he had that for a couple of years, and then it was eventually like, I'm going to sell this thing, and I'm like, really? And like, you're not. And he's like, yeah. I think what I've wanted all this time is a Taylor, and I'm like, yeah, I bet you do. Like, I bet you do. And he's like, well, I keep looking at these Taylors, and I think, and that guitar is like $700, right? Brand new. Like mine is $700 Canadian, brand new. And a Taylor up here can be like $1,500, right? And that's what he did. He sold this one on, and he got himself this Taylor, and he loves playing it. And they let me play it, and I was like, oh, I get it. Like, this is so nice. You can just pick up and play this thing, and it's so responsive everywhere. And I'm like, you wouldn't think it would make that big a difference, and yet, even from like a $50 guitar to $150 to a $700 to a $1,500 guitar, yeah, it's a difference. It's a big step every time.
Yeah, they're expensive for a reason.
Yeah.
I've been trying to teach myself to play guitar, and I'm pretty sure it doesn't matter what instrument I play at this level. I'm still trying to figure out how to only touch one chord at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely like the stages.
That's why I did bass. Bigger, less strings.
If you,
I think the only instrument that I've ever played was the recorder, and I was told by my music teacher, hide in the back and pretend.
Oh, man.
wow.
My elementary school music teacher gave up.
Yeah, elementary school, they care that much. Ugh.
Like, I get it, too, because it's like the recorders, you can get inexpensive recorders, so it's easy to hand out a bunch of them to kids in classes or get them to get their own, right? And I'm like, right, but the recorder is also a very touchy instrument for kids to play.
And again, I mean, and especially if you're getting like crappy ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's even worse. And like when I was taking music, so this again would have been like 40 years ago. We had a music room that had a bunch of like xylophones and metallophones and glockenspiel and like all that kind of stuff too. And that's what they were teaching us to play on, is on those. It didn't mean that every kid had access to any of those, but it meant that you kind of were supposed to cycle in and out and get a chance to try them all, so you could learn music and play along with whatever. Which I like that, because it's like, at least it feels like you're getting a chance to try out a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
And we're not just like a recorder choir or anything like that.
I played flute in high school. I quite enjoyed it. My brother played trombone, and so he's a couple years older than me, and so I saw him, walking to school with carrying his trombone. So I'm like, I gotta get a small instrument.
Take up the piccolo.
Well, I did actually. I played the flute for a while, and then I actually did play the piccolo for like a year.
You're like, this flute is still too big.
But yeah, I didn't. The part of the problem with the piccolo is that it is like, it's basically exactly a flute but an octave higher.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so you just soar out across the entire orchestra or the entire band, which is great if you're a confident player, which I was not.
Yeah, there's a reason there's no piccolo section. There's usually just the one or two people who do it.
Yeah, how does the joke go? How do you get two piccolo players to play in tune with each other? You shoot one of them?
Yeah.
I hadn't heard that. That's good.
When I was in jazz band, our all the saxophones sat in front and the trombones stood behind us, and then the trumpets were on risers behind them as well.
Yeah.
And so they had their own boxes and stuff. And it was a little annoying to sit right in front of the trombone section, because if they were cooking, they were loud, and of course the bells are right there, so you're just like, we gotta deal with this. So yeah.
Yeah, good times. Of course, as a piano player, they always, for concert band, they would pull me out, and it's like, well, your trombone's fine, but we really need somebody who knows how the layout of a keyboard works to like play the xylophone for this one song or whatever, right? Because all the drummers, they're like, I don't know, what's a note, right? How do I read sheet music?
Wow, the drummer shade.
Not to say that there aren't percussionists out there, obviously, who do
there's
know.
very good percussionists.
Yeah.
Not so much in high school concert band.
No. Oh my God. I had one of my proudest moments was we were out our drummer for a practice session for the jazz band, and of course, like I said, I want to learn how to play drums, and I'd had from time to time I'd sit down at the kit and I'd have the drummers teach me, this is how you do this, right? So like be able to do a beat, kind of keep a beat. And so I had to get up and go to the washroom. And when I came back, of course, we weren't going to stop practice. So that practice was still going. And we were playing, what were we playing? I think we were playing the Mission Impossible theme, like the original Mission Impossible theme that was like in 5/4. And so our drummer's out. He's not around. So I sat down and I drummed a 5/4 beat for the rest of the song. And nobody saw that coming, right? Because I came in from the back and the kit's at the back.
Right.
And then everyone's playing the song and I just kind of waited and then I'm like, okay. You know, I just kind of was doing that. And everyone, like people who could just kind of turned around to see what was happening. And the band director, he was like, he just kind of kept us going. He just kind of kept conducting. Then he signaled me for a solo, which was only like a 2-bar fill, and I was like, "No!" Like, just went back to doing the thing, and it's like, "No, that wasn't gonna happen, my guy." I'm glad you were confident.
I thought it's like, "Oh, this is hotshot drummer."
Yeah,
let's go.
he thinks he can do it. Well,
Let me give him a chance to do a solo.
Yeah, and then he whiplashed me with the stool, and yeah, oh, that was good. I had a lot of fun in jazz band. I had less fun when I got into like community jazz bands.
Yeah.
Because everybody who was playing in them had been playing for like 25, 30 years.
Right.
They're all very good. They can all sight read. This is like, it's my hobby, but I've been doing it for like all this time that I'm really good. And I'm like, I'm fresh out of high school. I feel pretty good. I want to give this a try. And you're like, I was good for high school, but man, these people are committed. And I just kind of fell off.
Yeah, when you start seeing, someone does an amazing solo and then they're like, okay, your turn.
Yeah.
It's like,
Too bad there wasn't like an sort of intermediate jazz band.
Yeah, like when I went to university, I signed up you sign up for music, whatever, and part of that was you could join the jazz band as your music course if you're signing up for music. But everyone had to audition. And so I showed up. I'd signed up to take the course.
Yeah.
I was paying money to take the course. And I showed up a week before classes began so I could join the jazz band. I did my audition. My sight reading was not great. I just sucked overall. I was like, no, they're not going to take me. I know that. That's how that is. They posted the results of who was making the jazz band on the same day that you had to drop classes. And so when I saw it, I'm like, I didn't make the cut. And they're like, yeah, so you're cut from the jazz band. You have to drop the class now. It's like, it's not automatic. They're like, no, you have to go drop the class. I had to go to the Department of Fine Arts to get permission to drop the class. I had to run across campus to the Department of Science, which I was located in, to find someone who would sign off, or the Faculty of Science, someone who would sign off on letting me drop the class. Then I had to run to administration building on the course the last day to drop the class and get all my paperwork in.
Weren't there like dozens of people having to
Yes!
so you're all running
We're all
around in a
doing the
pack?
same thing. We're all running around and like at different times, and so you have people coming around. I'm like, why isn't this an automatic process? And if we don't make the cut, you should cut us from music.
Right, right after they say, no, you're not good enough.
Yeah.
It's like, now have this hassle to deal
If you
with.
didn't drop the course, would you still get credit for it?
No, I actually would have failed the course.
Like you would have actually
Yeah.
lost. Yeah.
I would have paid for a course. I would have instantly failed it, and that would have just brought down my GPA.
That's a terrible system.
Awful system. Yeah.
Upsetting.
Mean.
Yeah.
Not only did we not pick you, now you must be punished.
Yeah, because I was
Yeah.
like, I didn't do anything wrong except just suck during my audition. And like, I might have been good in my high school band, and that was great.
Yeah.
But it's like, I screwed up an audition, and I don't even get a chance to come by and be like, well, you're on second tier varsity jazz band. You're going to learn how to get better and then challenge your way into the proper band or something.
Have a backup band,
Wanted
but
to-
you can still be in.
Yeah.
Maybe maybe the jazz band needs like a roadie.
Yeah.
I'm better play music.
Could have learned how to be a groupie.
Thank you. Yeah. Man, that'd have been great if I could have gotten laid in university. It sounds awesome.
I mean, that was actually like one of my friends in high school. I was in I did a lot of work with the video club in high school. We filmed all the school productions and all that kind of stuff. And one of the other guys was also technically in the jazz band, but his being in the jazz band was he ran the board.
Oh, okay.
Like for the jazz band.
That's a useful skill, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but it's sort of the idea that you need sort of the non musical people, but who know their way around the technology.
Mm-hmm.